Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Denonu, and this is going to be a spoiler review of the Suicide Squad or the Suicide Squad, the second one in the franchise that they should have just called the second Suicide Squad. That makes sense to me. You know, not Suicide Squad 2, but if they wanted to keep the naming format, just make it the second Suicide Squad, and then make the third movie the third Suicide Squad, the fourth Suicide Squad. Keep it going. Why not? But instead of doing that, WB just decided to take the easy way out. They're trying to reboot uh their own crappy movie with the first one. And honestly, as a comic book guy, even I don't know a lot of the characters that's in this. Like I've heard about them, I know of them, but I've never read a lot of their stuff. Like as far as the cast, I've heard of Polka Dot Man, Bloodsport, and I've heard of Peacemaker. Harley Quinn, Rick Flag, and the people from the first one I know. But like some of the new people, like I know King Shark because just because he's been in other things like the Harley Quinn cartoon, the Flash TV show, and he's been a predominant, I'm not going to say a popular, super popular character in the comic books as far as the Suicide Squad, but he's been in a few other people's comics and stuff like that. So I recognized him. Weasel, had no idea who that was. Ratcatcher, had no idea who that person was. Um, and I think a few of the other people too, like the Nathan Fillion's character, the one on screen right now where it's scrolling. I knew of him, but I'm not necessarily of what he can do. Like it was only like if you look up like dumb powers on the internet, his is probably one of them. So it's like I recognized him from like one comic book where they mentioned him, but it was way back. But to get back on the point of this video here, honestly, the movie to me felt it was better than the first one. I'll say that. Leagues better than Suicide Squad 1. However, I don't know if it's just me. I haven't seen anybody else talking about it, but the movie to me, when I was watching it, it just felt cheap. And I don't mean that as far as special effects or anything like that, but just like the feel of how they filmed it. Like it has a kind of, I don't know if it's the cameras that were used. I'm not a film guy like that. I don't know if it was film versus digital, or maybe the frames per second was up, or maybe they kind of shot it in a particular way in order to have CG on the screen every other scene because you have to animate like King Shark and stuff like that. But it just had like a kind of TV show look to it. And I'm not saying that the movie felt like a TV show, but as far as the way it looked, like the first impression of just how they shot it, I was like, why does this have why does the lighting look like super bright and exposed? Like it's not bad, but it could be far worse. I've seen far worse. But it just had a kind of TV show vibe to it versus a movie vibe that you would see from a normal production shot AAA budget movie. It looks like maybe they skipped out on a few things. But as far as the plot and the characters, I'm not gonna go beat for beat. Um, I'm just gonna list my likes and dislikes here. So, what I loved about this movie, I will say Joel Kinnaman or Kinnaman, Rick Flag, he was good. Eldris Alba as Bloodsport, he was probably my favorite character in the movie. Although I don't like how they just replaced one black guy who could shoot guns with another black guy that could shoot guns. Like that felt super stupid to me. But I will say Bloodsport did it better. He had all these tech weaponry where uh every time he wanted, like the two pistols you guys see in the poster, he would pull those from like his chest piece, kind of like in the center of his chest. You can kind of see it above Rick Flag's head there. But they go on the side of like his chest centerpiece. Kind of like if it was Iron Man's arc reactor, it would be in the center of his chest and he could just grab his chest and like pull it, pull them off and flip them and they become like little pistols. But then if he takes what he with those and kind of grabs something at his waist and puts it together, it becomes an assault rifle. So it's like you see all of that kind of transformer itself into like a rifle or a big ass sniper, the one you've just seen him running with in the video there, or like any weapon he needs at at any given time. He has weapons all over his suit. So he's like I don't want to say he's like the Iron Man of the team, but if you need a guy who can, has a gun on him everywhere on his person, like if you need somebody who has a gun on him, he's the guy you go with. Because everything on his suit is like a potential thing that he can grab and flip it into a weapon some kind of way and, shoot somebody with it. Like that very much. John Cena's Peacemaker. I've been seeing a lot of people talk shit about him, and I'm not going to do that. I know John Cena isn't the greatest actor, but then again, he's a wrestler. None of them are. let's be real here. None of them are. I remember back in the day when John Cena, well, I can't say back in the day, but back in the day for me, I remember when he came out and was doing the Marine, the Marine 1 and the Marine 2. He is far better than those days. I will say that. But he isn't a super good actor, not by any means. But in this movie, to me, I don't mind that as much because it plays into his character. He's a super militaristic, patriotic type character who is straight faced. He has no sense of humor. He's that kind of, brick wall of a personality. So it makes sense. And a lot of his comedic jokes or the jokes that would have to bounce off his character kind of were hit and miss with me, to be honest. Like the whole, oh, if this beach were filled with with bags of dicks, I would eat all of them. It was like that joke was like, it's like a lot of the comedy in this movie for me was like hit or miss. Some jokes I found funny, like with Polka Dot Man seeing his mom everywhere. Love that one. The joke where King Shark was about to eat Ratcatcher 2, at the campfire. That was cool. The beach scene in the beginning, I found funny in certain parts. but for the most part, the movie was just as far as comedy to me. It's they had a lot of running gags and stuff that just didn't land with me. Like the one Milton joke, I like that one when they first did it. I think they kind of went too long with it. But I like it because I was thinking the same thing as they were storming the building and he was going in there, running in there with them. I was like, what the hell is he there for? Like, I know he's with the rebels, but the rebels' job was just to get them to the facility, which he already did. I was like, what the hell are you doing? And, with him. And it just goes to show you that they made a joke out about even the characters forgot he was there because he didn't have no skill or no point. He was just like carrying the bag. That's all he was doing. But let's say like Harley Quinn, I'm tired of seeing her. I'm not a fan of Margot's Harley Quinn anyway. And at this point, this is the third movie she's been in. It's like, I just don't care at this point. Her whole shtick with her character, it's, I wanted to fast forward the movie. That's how tired of it I am. I wanted to see more Bloodsport, Amanda Waller, some of the newer people in the new team, more so than her by far. I do like a lot of the chemistry between Eldris Elba, let's say Rick Flag and Ratcatcher 2, that whole dynamic between them. And I like that a lot. But the plot of the movie seems kind of, well, I guess it's a wacky kind of plot. I mean, it kind of has to be if you're making a Suicide Squad thing. You can't just send them on normal Black Ops missions and stuff like that. I mean, you could. That's kind of what Amanda Waller does in the comic books and stuff like that for a lot of it. But it's like in this, you have to get people in the seats. And to do that, you have to have the comedy and the jokes and the wackiness of it. It's like, I get it. Honestly, the movie, as far as being wacky and stuff, it was cool. I mean, I didn't mind that at all. I love that the fact that they had Starro as I can't really call him a main villain because he's only in like the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie. He's the big threat at the end, but he's not the main bad guy of the movie. If anything, that would go to the general guy, um, the the prince of the kingdom, and I guess you can say the thinker. They would have to be the villains of the movie outside of I guess you could say Amanda Waller. But um, to be honest, the plot was just okay. It's what I liked about the movie was the first, really like the first 70% of it, and seeing Starro at the end and all of that, because it's not like they beat Starro. They take him down. I guess you could say they kill him, but, or it rather, but it's like, that's the main, I'm trying to think of my words to describe this, but it's not as if they did a whole act 3 of them taking down Starro bit by bit. It was just like they showed Starro, and it's like, okay, they had to have the honorable moment in there where it's like, okay, we could leave, but then everybody here would die, or do we go save these people? And they go run the Starro, fight him a little bit, and then like Harley Quinn kind of jumps into his eyeball, or its eyeball, and the rats save the day, which anybody could see from a mile away. So it's not as if they had like a well drawn out epic battle with Starro, because it's like, let's be honest, Starro fights the Justice League. He would technically mop the floor with the Suicide Squad. Technically, he should have. But it was okay. I mean, it was one of those endings where it's like, if you watch the movie, you know what's going to happen. You can tell how they're going to end it, because the rat catcher girl does nothing for like the whole movie except summon rats. And they did it a couple times beforehand. And the rule of 3, and like when it comes to comedy and movies, is that they're showing you that to say, hey, look, she can summon rats anytime she wants. So at the end of the movie, that's how Harley Quinn kind of pokes a hole in Starro and allows the rats to go in and technically eat them up, I guess you could say. But one thing I found super weird is that rats need to breathe. So if they jump in his eyeball and swimming in his eye gunk and liquid and stuff like that, they should be drowning as they're going in. They shouldn't just be, just swimming and fine, and they couldn't breathe. Like the same thing goes for Harley. I was thinking the same thing as I was seeing it. I was like, why isn't she drowning right now? It showed her all in slow motion, smiling, watching the rats swim all around her and stuff. And I was just like, yeah, she should be drowning right now. like what's going on? But plot armor. A lot of the jokes as far as the characters, like her with the javelin and the way the other team died on the beach and stuff like that, or when you had I forget what his name is in real life. I want to say like Michael Rooker, I think. When his savant character, he's the first character they show. They make him out to be a badass, and then they get him on the beach, and then he runs away like a massive pussy. Makes no sense to me. Like, it's like, I get it. Like, the whole thing is usurping your expectations, but outside of that, it's just weird. It's too much. Like if I was doing it, it's like, it's one thing to do it for a scene here, a scene there, but when you do it over and over and over again, it's just, to me, it's like you can see it coming. It's like, I mean, unless maybe the mass majority, the major movie going audience, maybe they won't notice it because they're just wanting to be entertained. But even as somebody, like, I'm into the comic books, I know some of these characters. But even without that, it's just like, if I watch movies, it's like, okay, it's like, you can predict the movie just when you're watching it. Um, and I hate that. I hate I hate exposition, and I hate being able to predict the story, because then it's like, to me, that turns me off. So that kind of drops the movie a couple notches. But outside of that, a lot of people are calling this movie to be a flop because it's not making as much money as I guess the previous one and past WB movies, like whatever the hell the wacky stupid name for the Harley Quinn movie was. But I'm gonna say, like, this movie, I can't really blame that on the movie. It's not a bad movie. The movie is actually okay. It's good. It's not great if you're not a fan of like that joke right there that John Cena said saying where he was like asshole is slang for butthole, or like no, well, not asshole, what he said, starfish is slang for butthole. Does that have any relevance? It's like he's being super straight faced when he's making that joke, and it's like I get it, but a lot of the jokes in the movie were like that where they're just stupid. So it's like they're not usually comedy. It has to flow a certain way. You have to play off of it. You have to set up one thing and then do something else and be like, oh, I get that because they was set up before. Then it becomes a joke. But a lot of the comedy in this is like, it's going for that style of comedy where it's like that dumb funny. And it's like, I get that. I'm a fan of dumb funny. I love Family Guy, you know, but when you do it in live action, it's like, unless that dumb funny is really funny, it's just stupid, you know? Or at least in my mind, that's just my interpretation of that. Like, since it's the James Gunn movie, I can take it back to Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy, you had a lot of dumb shit in it. Like when Chris Pratt picked up the little container thing in the beginning and he dropped it. You know, that was that real life funny because he during filming he really did drop it, and then he went to pick it up and they just kept that scene in there. That was that dumb funny, but it was so funny. It was super fucking hilarious. The dance off at the end of part 1, super fucking hilarious, you know, because you would never think that that would be a thing, you know, or the scene in the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 where they're fighting the big monster and stuff like that. And where they're showing you fighting the big monster, but really the camera's on Baby Groot, you know, just because so they can sell that toy. That's what I'm talking about, where it's like you're seeing all this dumb, stupid stuff, but it's so funny that it makes it really enjoyable. So you don't care that the movie is like being stupid. This just has the stupid stuff. And it's not really that funny. So to me, I'm like, I chuckled for like half of the jokes, but I wouldn't say I laughed. One joke I did laugh about was Weasel in the beginning, right after the scene here, they all jump out of that helicopter or that Osprey, and they all jump in the ocean, and Weasel can't swim, so he just drowns, and they believe him to be dead because he just drowns. And they was like, did anybody check to see if he can swim? And then they cut to a man in the wall and looking at somebody else, and like somebody, you know, didn't do their job. And I thought that was hilarious because it was completely unexpected. And it's like, that's something I would never think that they would do. Then it turns out they brought him back at the end. Like he didn't, you know, that didn't kill him. But the movie is just filled with a lot of dumb moments like that. And for some people that's going to be hit or miss and stuff like that. I think the most hilarious stuff is probably with Polka Dot Man and I can't say Peacemaker. Maybe with King Shark, if you like that super dumb funny type stuff, because that's his whole character. He's just stupid. But he did have a lot of cool moments with that stupid in the movie. So if you like those kind of things, it's probably those two. Or maybe Eldris Alba and his Bloodsport's fear of rats, you know, because that comes up several times in the movie. I thought that was not super funny, but kind of funny. But outside of that, it's just like, you know. I don't know what they're going to do with this because like I mentioned before, people are saying that the movie is flopping. And just to go back on that, I don't think it's the movie's fault. I think the movie's fine. Like if this came out, if COVID wasn't a thing and this was only in theaters, this movie would be making a few $100 million right now. But the problem is you still got COVID out there locking down a lot of things. The confidence of people grouping together, going back to theaters isn't really back yet. And on top of that, they released the movie on HBO Max, which killed its theater sales right out the gate, no matter what. And just the fact that they mistitled the movie, because that's going to make people think about the first one. They should have called it Suicide Squad 2 or the second Suicide Squad or something like that. I think that hurt it. And just the fact that it's going to be hurt no matter what, because it's a part of a movie universe that hasn't been established and that people don't care about. Like people said the same thing about Black Widow when it came out, talking about how it was a flop. But Black Widow was a Marvel movie, you know, so that alone is going to put butts in seats. Whereas it's a brand, you know, people will go see that movie specifically because it's a Marvel movie to see how it fits into the MCU. This, nobody gave two fucks where it fit. And on top of that, they make it even confusing because they's like, oh, we're kind of rebooting it, but not really, you know? And by this movie having characters that nobody fucking cares about, you know, it's not like you got Batman on the front of the cover or something like that, you know, nobody's going to care to go see it, you know? And unlike the first one that had, let's say, Will Smith as the front boy of the poster along with Harley Quinn, this movie doesn't even have the star power behind it. What's her name is Harley Quinn, I think kind of half sold that first movie. But now, like I said, this is the third movie with her in it. So people have, after her movie, people didn't give a shit no more, you know? So, and Will Smith is a bigger star than Idris Elba. So he puts more butts in seats for, you know, from his perspective. Well, I would say he used to. He don't do it no more. I remember that flop he came out with where he was fighting his clone, like, was it last year? That was fucking stupid. So even he don't put butts in seats no more. But you can argue that he's a bigger star than Idris Elba. Although I think personally Idris Elba is a far better actor than Will Smith ever will be. But Will Smith does have that charismatic charm and, you know, that he has. So he can sell a movie just based on that. Just like how The Rock can sell a good action movie or a good vehicle movie for him. You know, The Rock can sell that based on his charisma, based on how his presence is and what the audience knows him as. Same thing like Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day, Stallone back in the day, Van Damme back in the day. When you see those actors in movies, you know what you're getting based on their pedigree. So none of these guys in this movie have had that AAA pedigree status, you know, so it's kind of hard to go into it. The audience doesn't know what to expect. You know, I mean, if you want to say even Rick Flag there, Joel Kinnaman, you can be like, okay, that's the guy from Altered Carbon and RoboCop that flopped, you know? So, you know, John Cena is probably the biggest star on here, but then again, that's just for American audiences. Idris Elba is probably the biggest face overseas because he's a British actor. So he's done a lot of British stuff. So, but even then, neither one of them are Will Smith. So that's what I'm trying to get across. This movie didn't have any kind of huge backer or backing behind it, character wise, that's going to draw people in to see it. Worst case, people are going to go see this movie because either they're bored or they're wondering like, what the hell is this movie about? Like, and you know, they're going to sit down and be like, what the hell am I watching? It's going to be so stupid that they're not going to take it seriously. And that's what I think the problem with the movie is. By WB not establishing this franchise or the WB or DCEU, whatever they want to call it, you know, this year, by them not establishing that, people don't care. And that's the biggest thing that hurt this movie is like, you can't expect a movie to make $500 million and with nobodies and without people caring about your movie. It doesn't happen. You know, unless you come out with something that's like a good drama piece or a character piece, aka like Joker. Or let's say you put, you know, let's say if the Suicide Squad had Joker on the front, Joker, Harley, and, you know, Bloodsport or whatever, you know, you have to pull in some likable characters to put on that along with these guys. But if you don't do that, then it doesn't happen. That's why in comic books, whenever they come out with like a new character, they gotta push them, you know, they got to push them for SummerSlam, so to speak, kind of like how wrestling does their characters when they want to build up hype for a match or build up hype around a personality. You have to put them next to the people who are popular in order to sell them, you know, to make the audience care. Whereas this just tried to come out at the wrong time with nobody that people cared about. And, you know, it's on HBO Max. Like I said, nobody would be saying that the movie flopped if it was only in theaters making money. But the fact that WB put all their movies on HBO Max, it's hurting the ticket sales of this movie by far. That's the biggest thing that fucked them over. But outside outside of that, just to wrap things up because I'm rambling at this point. Movie was good. Movie was good. It was funny. If comedy's your thing, go check it out. It kept me entertained. It's not the greatest movie, like I said, but it's not trying to be. I think it's light years better than the first one. So if you wasn't planning to see it based on your look at the first one, don't worry about that. James Gunn tried to make this as best he could. I mean, you can tell it's more like a Guardians type of feel because they have the music playing. They got the more of the comedy in there. And on top of that, the movie flows like it's supposed to be. The first one didn't do that, so the movie is worth paying your money to go see it. Now, if I think with HBO Max, I don't have it, but I think if you had the subscription for that, you could just watch the movie regardless. But if let's say if this was like on Disney Plus and it was gonna do it like Black Widow and be like, oh, they're gonna make you pay $30 to see it, it's not worth that. It's not worth that much. I wouldn't pay to go see that much, but paying $10-15 to go to a theater for a good time, hey, go do it. If you feel, like you could be safe enough for doing that with COVID and, you got the money, I would say go see it in theaters to support it and have a good time. It's probably going to make you laugh at some point. They have a lot of cool, dumb jokes in there, but at the same time, the plot is also there and it flows from A, B to C. So you can enjoy the movie and, just see something different. But one last thing here. If I had to rate it, let's say I don't really rate my opinions because they're just my opinions. But if I had to rate it in between like a 1 out of 10, or from 1 to 10 rather, I'd probably give it a 7. If average is a 5, maybe a low 6, I'd give it about a 7. It's better than average. It's okay. It's not great, but still good to watch nonetheless. If you're bored, if you're high, if you're just tired of being in the house, I would say check this movie out some kind of way. You'll get a decent chuckle out of it, if anything. So anyways, fellas, that's just my opinion on the Suicide Squad here. And if you guys want to hear me talk about anything else, whether it be a movie, reaction video to something on YouTube, or something else online, let me know down in the comments below, and we'll see if we can make it happen. So be safe out there, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Peace out.